today's report is going to be of interest to you if you need those many varied but common flavours of electricity out there in the boonies. That can be in the context of 4x4 adventuring or camping or boating or caravanning, something of that nature, but it can also be that tree change life, like building a house off the grid or a shed in the back paddock and there's no wires running up to it. And in that context, it's really important to get your needs over here and match them to the capabilities of the device that you choose. And you need to get this right because they're not particularly cheap things to buy, and that's why you need to get it right. Otherwise, it's just a really expensive mistake. It's either going to be overkill or, even worse, underkill, right? And nobody wants that. So I'm walking the dog this morning and I get home and there's a couple of boxes waiting for me unexpectedly, which is always freaking delightful, especially once the bomb squad gives you the all clear to approach, right? That's always so uplifting. Anywho, I unbox them and out pop a couple of brand new Bluetti devices. And I'd have to say, I've received dozens of Bluetti devices now and evaluated many of them, and the packaging, which I haven't spoken enough about, is absolutely first rate. Like, it would be extremely unlikely for the device inside to sustain any damage despite the slings and arrows of rough treatment in transit because they're so well packaged. So that's always reassuring. Anywho, what's in the boxes? The top one on your right here is a thing called the AC60. It's brand new. The thing underneath is a B80. Now, what does that mean? The AC60 is a completely self-contained mini power station. That means it's got batteries, it's got an inverter that gives you the 240 volts out. There's two GPO-style 240 volt outlets. And it's got all self-contained input and output and expansion capability. And speaking of expansion, the thing on the bottom is a B80, which is essentially a bigger battery that increases the total amount of electrical storage that you've got. And I want to contrast these with this Bluetti AC180 because this is the most recent Bluetti here that I've reviewed, and I'm really impressed with it. And it's got some strengths and some weaknesses compared with this new one here, so you'd want to weigh that up and choose the right one for you. So the party trick for both these units is their environmental ruggedness. They're both IP65, which means the 6 in the 65 is for dust. It's the top dust protection rating. And the 5 is water resistance. And the 5 actually means amenable to soft jets of water spraying on the thing from any direction. So in the context of camping, where something might get rained on or where there might be a particularly heavy dew one morning when you wake up, that's a huge relief with a unit like this. And let's not forget the dust thing, because if you drive anywhere in the boonies, dust is such a factor, right? So if this is going to be in the tray of a ute, even wrapped up or on foam, whatever, in the tray of a ute, it's going to be subject to some dust. And the dust protection thing is going to be a real win, I'd suggest. But the capability of the AC180 on the left is a big deal. And the reason I'm kind of rushing into this without putting these units on your right through some sort of big test is because that these are both on sale at the moment. They're $100 off each, plus if you use the code in the description, you'll get another $20 off. So that's kind of significant, but this offer only lasts until the 22nd of June, and I wanted to give you as much time as possible to weigh up what you actually need so you can make the right choice. And if you don't mind, I'm going to refer to my cheat notes here because otherwise I'll just wing it and give you some wrong information, and nobody wants that. So with this new AC60, it's a 600 watt inverter. Okay, so that means you can pull out the power in any flavour you want. You can use both of these GPO type outlets, and you can use the USB-A outputs and the high-powered USB-C, 100 watts worth of USB-C out of this one, so if you want to fast charge a laptop, no problem. You can use the 12 volts DC to keep your fridge going, and you can even charge your mobile with the inductive charge pad on top. You can use all of those outputs simultaneously, not to exceed a total output of 600 watts, and that'll be up to 1200 on surge. That makes it a big difference to this box here, because this box here is 1800 watts, right? So that means about 3 times the power can come out of the AC180, and it's also got like 3 times the battery. So that makes a big difference as well, but not as much when you consider that you can get the expansion battery into this baby and essentially be line ball on battery capacity. If you do that, you've got the same battery capacity over here as you've got in this box, and you've got the environmental protection rating, which you don't get with the AC180. And this has been insanely popular, this box, since its debut. And I get that because it's so versatile. When I tested this one, I'll put a link up there, I used it to drill, I forget, about 40 holes in a piece of 16mm steel plate using a magnetic drill. And it just performed flawlessly. It drove the magnet and it drove the drill through all that steel, and it used bugger all of its capacity, basically. So that's kind of impressive, and out on location doing some sort of heavy duty fabrication, this could be a real asset, whereas you won't be driving something as power hungry as a mag drill with a box like this. So even though the battery capacity of this total combined pair of boxes is the same as that, the inverter output capacity is not the same. 3 times more electricity can come out of this in one hit. That's going to make a difference to you, right? So you need to balance up what you need to run with how much power the inverter can serve up. And that would be my primary distinction between these two setups here, and that's something for you to consider, because only you know what you're going to ask the unit to do. So 5-year warranty with this baby, but they've upped the warranty to 6 years on this one. And the batteries in all of these, I have to say, are the lithium iron phosphate kind, which is that stable lithium ion chemistry. And Bluetti says they're good for about 3,000 cycles to 80%. And that's roughly 9 years of recharging if you recharge every day. So that's pretty durable. 5 years warranty, 6 years warranty, okay? This baby is also compatible with being an uninterruptible power supply. So you can have it plugged in at home, and if the power goes down and you need a device to seamlessly run, then this will respond within 20 milliseconds. And I'm not sure that there's uninterruptible power supply capability built into this. So that's something to consider as well. These both take about an hour to charge when you plug them into the wall. So that's pretty impressive as well. You know, fast recharging. That means if you're on the hop in a vehicle and you pull up to get a burger and refuel, whatever, you can probably scrounge a bit of wall type electricity from wherever you stopped. And if you're there for an hour, you'll be from flat to totally okay, good to go. You can also put solar into them, and you can trickle charge from your 12 volt supply. In fact, the box comes with the cables, both boxes come with the cables to do that. Here's your 12 volt DC trickle charge supply. Here's your solar supply cable as well. And the inputs are all over here on the right-hand side as you look at them. There's also an earthing point on both of these. So if you want to drive a metal stake into the ground, you can earth these devices, and presumably you could buy a power board with a residual current device like a safety switch, and it would function properly because the devices are properly earthed. So there's that to consider. And the other thing I really like about both of these, the first Bluettis I've tried with this functionality, is, in fact, I'll show you. You get one of these standard jug type cables, right? Everyone's seen one of these. You get one of these and there's no power brick, or there's no separate power brick, which there is with every other Bluetti unit I've tested. With both of these units, the brick is built in, and all you do is plug the thing in and you're ready to rip, right? So that's one less thing that you need to worry about carrying, which would be the brick. Okay, so that's kind of good as well. And you can see there, it's got the new display. The new display is really good. You can also control both of these with the Bluetti smartphone app. So as long as you're connected to the unit via Wi-Fi or whatever, Bluetooth, then you can control the units remotely without walking over here and going through the whole button pressing sequence. The other thing is, and this is important to know as well, you can turn AC and DC on separately, and that's important because if you don't need AC, when you turn AC off, you de-energise the inverter, and that extends the life of the battery because you're not draining it to no purpose to run the inverter. So that's kind of important. They'll both do that. Now, from the point of view of recharging these with a panel on the roof of your vehicle or one of those Bluetti panels that you can unfold and just use out on location, you can put 200 watts maximum worth of solar into these, and you can put 500 watts worth of solar maximum into this one. So you can put a lot more electricity out of your solar panel into this one quickly, okay? There's an implication that arises from the modularity of these two units that you might be able to exploit in the way that you can't with the AC180, right? And that is that if you're camped up for a few days and you need to go out in the boat or something and do a bit of work wherever you're going in the boat, you might need to use some battery-powered power tools or something of that nature. You can take the AC60 in the boat. You can keep your power tool batteries charged up with the AC60. You can leave the B80 back in camp and you can use the 12 volts out to keep your fridge running back at camp. And that's kind of useful. Obviously, you can't get 240 volt power out of the battery because it doesn't have an inverter, but it will operate in standalone mode and you can get USB out of it and 12 volts out of it. So that's kind of useful. At the same time, you can do everything you could do with the units combined with just the AC60, albeit with a little bit less electrical grunt on board. So you can take it in the boat, you can keep your devices powered up with the USB, you can charge a few batteries for power tools, whatever, and run low-powered sort of AC devices with the two GPOs. And then when you get back at camp, you can just pair the pair up and go again. Connecting them up is dead simple as well. They come with this sort of bespoke 300 volt cable. And it's got a complex looking plug, but connecting the two devices is super easy. There's an arrow on top and it sort of self-bayonets itself into the receptacle. And as long as you can remember to put the arrow on top, find the hole and push, which is always a useful skill, then they're connected, they're good to go, dude, and you can't get it wrong. So they're idiot-proof as well. Even a politician could do it, in other words. And then when you energise the whole thing, in this case with a bit of 240, the main unit is going to charge the battery as well. So that's pretty simple. You can also plug the solar in and do all of that and run power out of it at the same time. So it's compatible with doing everything at once in the way that, for example, my brain is not. I'm at the limit now, just talking about this with you, which is kind of confronting. Okay, so each box here is about 9 kilos, one in each hand, dead easy to carry. This one's about 16, I think, yeah, 16 kilos for the AC180, so you've got to carry it in front, but it's not that hard either. When you compare that to the next step up, which is sort of an AC200 Max or the AC200P or something, they're substantially heavier at about 30 kilos, and that might be a little bit beyond some people, especially if you've got some way to go with it. But both of these units are easy to carry, easy to move around, easy to lift into a boat, whatever. Okay, so that's kind of useful as well. And you can charge via a variety of setups with both of these, okay? So you can put 240 volts into them, you can put solar into them, you can put 12 volts DC into them. It's easy to keep them charged and they charge up nice and fast. And the other thing I'd say is I've used dozens of Bluetti products now and I've never had a failure. They've always been completely reliable, which is kind of important when you're out in the boonies depending on something. And for that reason, I don't have any hesitation in recommending them to you. Now, for complete disclosure, Bluetti does send me these units. I don't pay for them and I hang on to them afterwards. I've actually got a stack of Bluettis. I could build a tower to the sun by now. Some of them are freaking huge and heavy too, like that AC500 that you can use to power up your house in a blackout. That is a significantly heavy thing. Just to reiterate, the price is about $900 for each of these boxes. That's $100 off for each one of them. And if you use the code in the description, you'll get another $20 off versus $1,249 for this one. So you get more electricity out of this one. It's got more native battery storage on board. But if you buy these two boxes, you get the IP65 environmental protection rating and you get the modularity function as well. Same amount of electricity, but you can't draw as much power out of the AC60 in one hit as you can in this case. Like you can get 1800 watts out of this one, 600 watts out of that one. That's pretty much all you need to know in the context of which one you need to choose to power up your life out in the boonies. If you've got any significant questions that arise from that, I'll put links in the description that'll take you to the website. You can check it out there. You can also ask me a few questions in the comments and I'll do my best to address them as well. So look, I know this hasn't been hugely automotive, except in the context of this might be something you need for your next 4x4 camping adventure, but thanks for joining me on this one and I'll catch you in the next video.